What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. If you're new to the channel, this channel is kind of all about my journey along the way of recording and mixing and music gear and playing and all the different types of stuff that go along with music. So today is kind of a cool one. We're going to be talking about microphones and a specific type of microphone. It's called the SHURE SM57, and I'm sure you've heard of it because it is one of the most widely used and most versatile mics out there. It was originally invented in 1937. It was called the Unidyne, and it was originally invented for orchestras and the different string instruments. Rock and roll really wasn't a thing back then, but it kind of went through a few changes and ended up becoming the SM57, which stands for studio microphone. I'm not sure where the 57 came from. If you know, please let me know in the comments. So pretty much anyone involved in recording or performing music has at least one SM57 in their arsenal, or at least knows what the microphone is, and that's due to the fact that it is such a widely used and versatile microphone. You can pretty much record anything from drums to guitar to horns to strings to vocals to bass. I mean, it's got such a wide dynamic range and such a large sensitivity range that you can put any source that you want, the loudest source your ears can handle, and it'll still pick up everything and it won't distort. And it's just a really great all-around mic. And not only that, it's incredibly durable, and I think that's another reason why people use it so much in live settings. It can be dropped, it can be kicked around, and everyone knows in a live setting, everyone's moving around, people are dancing, microphone stands get knocked over, and these things, you can pretty much throw it at the wall, and it's going to get scratched, it's going to get dented, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to stand up and it's going to continue to work. And I think that's another reason why it's used so much. And you're probably asking, as I did too, such a versatile microphone and such a durable microphone, it's probably really expensive. And that's not the case at all. You can get one of these brand new for $99, and you can get them used all over the place for even less than that. So it's just an all-around great mic. I highly suggest everybody have at least one in their microphone case, just for extra miking purposes, because it's a really great mic. Now I have two in my arsenal, and I was looking at them the other day, and side by side, if you look at them, they look fairly similar, right? They look practically the same. But if you start looking at the details, there's a couple things that were different that kind of stood out to me, and I didn't know why that was. I figured since they've been around for so long, they've gone through a lot of different changes, as a lot of other products have, different logos, different fonts, different stuff like that, different shapes. But come to find out, there's a huge market out there for counterfeit and fake SM57s. And when I read that, my stomach dropped. I was like, oh no, I could quite possibly have a fake or two fake SM57s. So I did some research, and there's a couple different ways that you can tell. And I'm still not sure if either one of them is real or fake, or what year it's from. First thing I noticed was the Shure logo was a little bit different. The font was a little thicker on one, and one didn't have the trademarked R. And if you turn them around, there's what's called the low Z logo on it. Those were completely different in font style. If you look at the bottom where the 3-prong XLR adapter is, the XLR plug, you can see inside that they're also a little different. I also opened up the capsules, and that inside looks to me like the most similar thing about them, and as far as my research, looks to be legitimate, although like I said, I don't know what year exactly they're from. So, and Shure doesn't really have a lot of information on that, because there's been so many different versions of them, and I think they've been produced in the United States, they've been produced in China, and they've been produced in Mexico. So depending on the year or where they were produced, all these little tiny details are different. So I figured the best way to tell the difference between the two was to do some audio tests, because ultimately, whether they're real or fake or vintage or modern, it all comes down to how they sound, right? So I did a couple tests, or a few different tests. I did some guitar, some clean and distorted guitar, some bass, some snare drum, and kind of A/B'd them, and I was definitely able to tell a difference. And so we're gonna show those and give them a listen, and you can tell me what you kind of think about it. I feel like in each instance, they shined in different ways. So we're gonna go to those, and let me know what you think, and we'll see you back here in a little bit. Okay, so if you were listening on any decent speakers or in headphones, you should definitely be able to at least hear a little bit of difference. A had definitely more high-end frequency response, not as much low-end frequency response. I feel like it was a little dirtier, little grittier in the top end. It kind of gave a nice vintage style distortion, or at least that's what I'm calling it. Version B had a lot more bass response and a lot rounder of a sound. It didn't, the high ends weren't as harsh, weren't as high, and it was a lot more rounder. So I'm calling A. A was the one with the slash in the low Z, and that to me, from the research that I've done, seemed like either a fake one or a vintage one, and I'm not sure. And obviously there's a huge difference between that, but for just so I can sleep at night, I'm gonna go with vintage. And it definitely had a lot more vintage of a sound. Like, you can especially tell if you go back and listen to the distorted tones of each, and I'm going to call them distorted, like the snare with the snare engaged, not the one with just the skin engaged, the guitar, the distorted guitar, and the distorted bass. You can definitely hear the difference, and I think that has a lot to do with distortion in general, and that adding a lot of harmonics, high and low harmonics, so you can definitely hear more of a range of frequencies and a difference in frequencies of the two. And so to me, I found that really interesting. And just because one might be fake and one might be real, or one might be vintage and one might be more of a modern one, I definitely like the sound of both, and now I feel like I can utilize them in different ways. Whereas before, I just figured I had two SM57s and it didn't matter which one I grabbed. I was just grabbing an SM57, and now I feel like I can make a better decision as to, depending on what I'm recording, which one I'm going to grab. So it's all, I guess when it comes down to it, it doesn't necessarily matter if you have expensive gear or cheap gear. The goal is to get to know your gear as best as you possibly can, and get to know it, how it responds frequency wise, how, if it's an instrument, how it plays, what it's best for. It just, the more you play around with stuff, the more you listen. And that was the biggest thing I took away from this, this test, is no matter which one it was, it's all about listening. It's all about what you hear. So I hope you found this useful. If you guys know, if there's any SM57 professionals out there and you can tell me if one is real, if one is not real, if both are real, if both are fake, that would suck. But honestly, it's not going to ruin my day. I'm still going to use them. So yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please give me a like and a subscribe. It really helps out, helps me build my numbers, and it helps me keep the channel going, because ultimately I want to do this. I want to keep putting out videos once a week of my journey along the way and learning recording and mixing and all those good types of things that keep you occupied and keep my wallet empty. So until next time, guys, thank you for joining. We'll see you.